I'm David Lombardo, and this is WCNY's The Capitol Press Room, and we're going to share an excerpt of our Dispatches from Planet Albany conversation this week with Jasmine Gripper, the head of the Working Families Party in the Empire State, which recently decided not to back anyone in the Democratic primary for state comptroller, saying they couldn't rally around a consensus candidate. This comes a few months after the Liberal third party opted to sit out of a potential Democratic primary for governor. In light of these developments, we wanted to check back in with Jasmine Gripper and talk about the New York Working Families Party. So when you and I talked in February, the Working Families Party had just punted on an endorsement in the Democratic primary for state comptroller. You said at the time that there wasn't really enough runway to assess the candidates properly. But fast forward 2+ months, and the party ultimately wasn't able to reach a consensus on an endorsement. How close, if at all, did any of the three candidates come to potentially getting your support?
We had a rigorous process, like we always do, and we are deeply grateful that all the candidates came in to seek the Working Families Party endorsement and believe in the value that the party adds to any statewide race. And, we did a lot of homework to examine the role of the comptroller. We did a deep dive in what the comptroller can and cannot do. Each candidate filled out our questionnaire. They all came in and sat for interviews. But in the end, the party was split. There was definitely a part of the party who knows Tom DiNapoli's history for working with the Working Families Party, for being one of the first statewide candidates to say to his base of voters, vote on the Working Families Party ballot line to help us gain ballot access. And so those Tom DiNapoli loyalists were pro Tom all the way. There were party affiliates and members who were, wooed by Raj, and they thought that he made a compelling argument and believed in what he was, talking about what the office could do and some of the creative ways to use the comptroller's office. And same with Drew, where Drew Warsaw, where candidates, people thought that his housing policy agenda was compelling, while also there were criticisms of all of the candidates, from who they take money from to what they've done in the past, and looking at their history. And so in the end, there just wasn't consensus from the party on getting behind any one candidate. And so we chose to not make an endorsement. And so
Did
I
anyone
don't want
have
to say
a
it was
plurality of the vote?
no, because they would have won it. If there was a
Okay.
majority,
Oh, no, a
I
plurality,
mean,
though? Did anyone have a
a plurality.
plurality?
I think it was split. I actually don't remember how the vote shook out. That was 2 weeks ago. It feels like ages. But in the end, I think that we just couldn't come to consensus. And there was actually the consensus that people agreed upon was that the party should just stay out of the race and not make an endorsement.
You mentioned this idea of looking at what the comptroller can and cannot do, because when we've talked with these candidates, the challengers see a very expansive role for the comptroller and think it could be used much more aggressively than it has been since 2007, whereas the comptroller has said, if you want to impact PSC, serve on the PSC board. If you want to have XYZ impact, go run for that office. Did you come to any sort of conclusions about limitations on the comptroller's race as you did your analysis of its statutory and constitutional powers?
Yeah, I mean, we stayed grounded in the fact that the role of the comptroller, or one of the main roles of the comptroller, is maintaining a healthy pension fund. And that is a top priority. We also did challenge, how do you be an ethical partner in governing, and how do you make sure that we're leveraging the money, the large fund that New York has, to promote social good and well-being. And I think everyone had some interesting ideas about it, from even the current comptroller to those who were competing for the office. And Tom DiNapoli talked about, after Sandy Hook happened, I think it was one of the tragic gun shootings, the pension fund divesting from guns and gun manufacturing, and leveraging it for the social good. And then, people were talking about how we can invest in affordable housing. I don't think everything was pie in the sky. I think you look at the New York City comptroller right now, who has a really aggressive agenda on affordable housing and is making a big commitment. And so I think we did have to listen to some of the proposals from the challengers and, match that with what's allowable, while also to say to the current comptroller, you can be more creative. And so I do think there's a balance between people overpromising and also pushing the boundary of what's possible under the current conditions.
Was there any discussion with the incumbent comptroller about, hey, we'd love to make an endorsement of you, especially because you're probably going to win, but maybe if you made some public guarantees on some of these things where you haven't moved on in the past, and we could all come together as one right now. Was that a discussion on things like maybe join us on the increasing taxes campaign for the wealthy, or maybe talk about how you want to use the audit power, or maybe make some more concrete housing investments? Was there any sort of effort to get some sort of public guarantees from him?
We did talk to the comptroller and his staff about things that we thought the office could and should be doing
Mm.
a better job of, and where we wanted to see greater alignment. And those were good, productive conversations. And, there were some places where we landed in clear agreement and alignment, some where it was mixed, and some where we didn't get as far as we wanted to go. And so, yes, absolutely. We are, like we can always pick up the phone and call Tom. I will say that,
Can't
whether
email
it's
him
me
though.
or well, we talked to him on the phone, but whether it's like me directly as a state director or even some of our leaders who he's known for years, he has been accessible, and we have talked to him about his position and ways we think that he could be better using the office to help, govern for social good.
But
While
no,
also
but no
acknowledging
hostage
that, like,
video like 2018 with Cuomo.
no, we did not ask for a hostage video. That was not the request. For those who know the history of the party with Andrew Cuomo, we are in a much different relationship with Tom DiNapoli than we were ever with Andrew Cuomo.
Well, lastly, on this front, at the end of April, there was some reporting by Politico about Comptroller hopeful Raj Goyal employing the same political consulting firm that the WFP uses. Was there any hangover from that reporting in the endorsement process, either as a backlash to him, or maybe a backlash to the backlash, or a backlash to the backlash to the backlash? Did that factor in any way? Did you feel like either Drew Warshaw lost support, or Raj Goyal gained support, or lost support, or Tom DiNapoli lost support? Did it have any impact with some of the way people thought about this race?
Not at all. I think we were more annoyed with the way the reporting was framed, as if we were doing something and that was kind of compromising
Did you
our
feel like the reporting
standard.
framed that? It seemed like they just sort of said, "Here's the thing, let the chips fall
Yeah,
with
I
it,
mean, I
how it
think
lays."
the fact that they wrote it was like, why is this newsworthy in New York where there's a million other things to write about, and
Mm.
consultants across the political spectrum represent a number of clients. That's not unusual in New York politics. And so it was just, I think we were more annoyed about it than it actually influencing our process. And, our people, most of our people saw this story. I don't think it never even came up in our conversation during the endorsement process, and had no bearing in how we decided to move
Okay.
and make a decision.
Next year, we're going to have a new deputy majority leader in the Senate, and I'm curious if you have any skin in that game or have any suggestions for what Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins should either look for, or maybe you've got a specific name in mind in terms of who she should make her number two. You okay with the potential front runner, Jamal Bailey, being the next deputy leader?
You know, the party's had a good relationship with Jamal. We don't always get along, but we can always pick up the phone and call. That's important when you don't always align with someone. He's someone I do have tremendous amount of respect for. I I do question the hype around him being the front runner, and no offense to him, like he is a great person, he's a great guy, but I also want to just we all know that he is like Carl Hasties, I don't want maybe mentee. And the Assembly and the Senate are very different bodies. And the Senate does not want to have any sort of appearance of being controlled by the Senate. And as much as Bailey is respected by his colleagues, uh, because of his close connection to Carl, he is seen as an extension of the Carl Hasty Democratic machine and club. And I don't imagine the Senate wants to have someone so tied to the assembly having a major role in the conference. So yes, he's on a leadership trajectory. I imagine he will have some sort of senior role. He's been around for a really long time. He's respected by his colleagues.
Really long
And
time.
also,
Didn't he get elected in like 2016 or 2017? Does that
I
count for a
mean,
long time nowadays?
it's relative. I mean, I think the other thing to look at is, you know, the what will likely maybe be a wave of retirements
Yes.
probably happening in the Senate. We saw a lot happen in the Assembly this year that kind of caught us by surprise. And so, I've been doing my research, and I think there are about 10 state senators between the age of like 66 and 87 this year. I don't imagine all of them are going to run for reelection in 2 years. And
Toby
so
Ann Stavisky's going to prove you wrong. She's going to outlive us all.
I'm not naming any names. I'm not trying to be ageist, but I do imagine that a few of them might want to think about a different way to spend their senior years that don't require them to go to Albany.
Would
And
Shelley
so
Mayer be okay as a deputy then?
I I love Shelley. Shelley and I go back to our education days.
Yes.
And she is someone who is, I think, trusted by her colleagues. Again, I think the conversations are going to be layered. Like, who wants to be around for a long time? Who wants to do that job? And then what I know to be true is like they will think about the regional racial diversity of who they put into these roles. And so Andre is already from Westchester. Will the deputy also be someone from Westchester? I don't know. Will it be someone again from New York City, particularly someone from Queens? Potentially, like, is there an upstate member? So I think there's lots of considerations around who they're going to pick, and especially if they're going to divvy up Janera's role into more than one thing. I think they'll likely be looking to tick multiple boxes. Maybe someone from downstate, maybe some upstate representation. We'll see. And so I I'm excited to see what happens, but also, we'll be having conversations with folks who we're friends with in the Senate to get their opinions on which of their colleagues they want to see elevated to this position as well.
And that was an excerpt of our Dispatches from Planet Albany conversation with Jasmine Gripper, head of the New York Working Families Party. For the entire conversation, check out Dispatches from Planet Albany at capitalpressroom.org or wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Support for the Capitol Press Room comes from O'Donnell and Associates, a public affairs firm providing strategic guidance to businesses and nonprofits on navigating policy and regulatory issues. More information is available at o'donnellsolutions.com.